So reparative therapy, you might also know it as conversion therapy or ex-gay therapy or sexual orientation change efforts, is a series of these dangerous and completely discredited practices engaged in by mental health practitioners trying to change a person's sexual orientation or gender identity.
It's an absolutely devastating experience for a young person to go through, and most of the young people who are subjected to that suffer lifelong, really permanent damage.
And they will subject these kids to these awful, awful treatments that in the past have ranged from electroshock therapy to nausea-inducing drugs that now are primarily talk therapy, but that still, even when you take the electroshock therapy out of it, they result in substance abuse, they result in depression and anxiety, and a lot of the times they result in suicide, and we have lost way too many of our survivors along the way because of it.
That's why we are so grateful to have a chance to work with survivors like Ryan Kendall, who somehow managed to survive, not only survive that experience, but to turn his life around completely, going from being, homeless, living on the streets, completely separated from his family with very bleak prospects for the future, to he was just so determined to not let that experience destroy his life. And he was able to go to school. He's going to law school now. We're so proud of him, and he has worked with us to pass the first law ever in the entire country that bars therapists in California from trying to change a young person's sexual orientation or gender identity. He's now helped us to pass a similar law in New Jersey, and we are working on other state laws in an additional 20 states now. Thanks to Ryan and our partnership with him, we're really changing the country on this issue.
It takes years, sometimes decades, sometimes a lifetime before people can actually come out and talk about this. Sam is somebody who is willing to get up in front of a room full of people and tell a story that I cannot imagine having to relive as often as Sam does, with vulnerability and humor and genuine sweetness and willingness to connect to an audience that might not always know how to ask the right questions, that might sometimes make it worse. Sam is willing to put themselves on the line, and honestly their own well-being on the line, to make sure that these people know what happened, know what still happens, and are engaged and committed to making sure it doesn't happen again. Sam is also an MIT student in nuclear engineering technology. Sam has never let what happened years ago be the defining factor. Sam is a force. I cannot wait to just keep being a friend, keep being a colleague, and keep watching what happens to the world as Sam grows up in it.